Hey everyone, my name is Chris, and on this channel we talk Kanye West. And today we have, I guess, quality over quantity in terms of the news. As you can see here, this is both old and breaking. So password protected original version of Kanye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy unlocked after 10 years. So this is going to make up the bulk of the discussion, but first we have just a few little odds and ends that we're going to go through. So bear with me, okay? First, looking at Casey Pluto's Twitter account, this has been something that fans have been following especially closely because Casey's really the only one giving us little like morsels of information at this point, even if it's just like working, something like that. And Consequence had been the one doing that for Jesus is King, and then Hovain back in 2018 with Ye. So this is kind of where we're at, but it also provides some more information on just YZY Sound, I guess. You may remember Kanye had posted the image of the dry erase board with YZY Sound and a list of names that seemed like a roster for a label, right? There'd always been speculation that the YZY Sound trademark was something to do with a streaming platform, but now it looks like it's more associated with artists and maybe even a potential replacement for good music, which might be like jumping way too far. But when you just see like some of the good music artists like under this YZY Sound label, and with Casey now tweeting out like my album coming to YZY Sound, right? And he had tweeted something the other day that he deleted that was about like endless sounds coming, endless vibes on the way, right? With the YZY Sound hashtag, which just makes it feel like there's going to be albums under that label. Sci-Hi the Prince was listed, and Sci-Hi talked in 2018 how they were working on their album and kind of gave it a 2-year time frame because he said that Pusha's album had been 2 years in the making and he deserved the same time for it, right? He wasn't going to rush it out to be part of the Wyoming albums. So I know it seems like he has an album on the way, and I know Tony Williams, Kanye's cousin, also has an album kind of like locked and loaded and ready to go. And then we have Casey Pluto here, who's just teasing new music that he's making as well, saying no luck, I'm guessing, rather than like no lack or no lock or no featuring Sunday Service. You can hear the choir in the background, and then saying after Donda. So it seems like Donda might kick something off, right? Or at least Casey's going to have music following that. And then checking in with Team Kanye Daily, not much in the way of like random tidbits. We have Kanye here taking this photo in front of what looks like the 8th Street Bar and Grill, something like that, with just a bunch of people. Looks like a family. And then Kevin Durant retweeting Kanye's 2018 tweets. He running around like he Pac, which I don't know why Durant's like reminiscing about that now. If there's something that like came up, some like Drake NBA beef going on, but Durant tweeting that just kind of had me cracking up. And you may remember that this is from like the longer Drake rant that Kanye went on in 2018. All the tweets are right here, but he was talking specifically about the fact that Pusha T was doing a concert and somebody ran up on stage trying to fight Push, and like Push and his team just like beat the shit out of the kid. And Kanye was talking about like he's in critical condition, like Drake, this is your fault, like you're running around like you're Pac, like we're done with that, like stop. So interesting. But okay, so this is what we're getting at with this article about password protected original version of Kanye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. So Nav here talks about how it was an early version of the album with some songs slightly different from what came out as the final product later in November 2010. And this was a file that was sent out to Hype Williams, as someone on the management team for Hype Williams. And even though it had been hacked and found by people, nobody could access it. It was password protected, the files were corrupted, so nobody had heard what was on this version of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy for the last 10 years. And apparently, 7 years ago, some users on Kanye To The really tried to get it going, right? So you can see right here, this was the thread 7 years ago. I decided I want to make a new thread for this. All right, so I've gotten the files out, the ones with the passwords we already know, using methods involving various compression programs. Here's what I know so far. And they spent 44 pages trying to figure this out, right? With like 6 years ago, them trying passwords we know, University, Tip, Oris, or Hours, Bronze, Bear, Wheezy, Kanye West, Mad, Monstrous, Nicki Minaj, Lion. Um, if it were possible, it definitely would have happened by now. And yeah, it's impossible. The zip file is corrupted, so you can't get anything out. So this is where people were at 6 years ago, that this shit was impossible. But then it got renewed. Sunday night, some chatter began on Yandhi Leaks that multiple passwords for individual songs had been reported. So it was the real maker here. Record for Hype, The Lost My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, gives a little bit of overview, and it says, we'd like to hire a professional to look into restoring the zip. And it says 2 new songs we know for sure are on it, as well as most likely Pusha T on Blame Game, different Nicki intro and Dark Fantasy, the original Hell of a Life, So Appalled and Monster Beats. Of course, a zip of such status had rumors too. Big ones include Eminem on All of the Lights, original Devil in a New Dress Rick Ross verse, as well as other things. There's a possibility we come up with not much new, not everything I mentioned. Hell, we might not even come up. We might even come up empty-handed. Of course, it won't be as expensive as most group buys, but it's worth it if we might be able to get a holy grail. The capital of every word is throwing me off. The last time people tried to crack this was in 2011. Technology has evolved a lot since then. Record for Hype might not be Can You Be or Living So Italian, but it's a complete alternate version of one of Kanye's greatest albums. And you can see the edits. Zip is available on the Kanye tracker. We're looking for someone who can help. We have found the password for That's My Bitch. We have found the password for Devil in a New Dress, Sweat on My Face, for The Joy, for Blame Game. All passwords have been found, which is kind of wild. So once they were able to unlock it, it still asked for a master password. Imagine doing all that work to unlock all these passwords for the individual tracks, only for it to say like you need one more password. Like, it was obviously not in anyone's knowledge. We all know how hard it is to randomly guess. Then came a big breakthrough by a mysterious and unknown person on 4chan. So this is a collision of our Yandhi Leaks and 4chan. So apparently just this anonymous user said password is "we want money. It's not corrupted. Music sucks." Which I don't know. It seems like that worked, right? I don't know who this person is, like what information they have, why they're like happen to be on this thread on 4chan, but it's just amazing that there's somebody who remembered this password for back in the day and was just like, fuck it, I'm posting. Fuck it, I'm posting, and just shared it. Yeah, I don't know who you are, but you literally just solved a grail that's been tried to be cracked for 10 years. They're not exaggerating. The user has become part of internet history for sure, solving one of the greatest mysteries for a Kanye fan. And yes, the file recovered is absolutely legitimate. There are 16 tracks in total, and a few of them sound different in one way or another from the final copy of the album. But then this copy is for Hype Williams. It runs across each track in the album as a watermark, which has become a little bit of a meme, right? So then you can see, like, here's one of the tweets from the author of this article, and this is the track list, right? Very different. Starts with Hell of a Life, goes into Dark Fantasy, Power, then Chain Heavy, Ghetto University, instead of All the Lights, right? That's My Bitch, Runaway, Lost in the World, Gorgeous, Monster, Holding Me Back, Devil in a New Dress, The Joy, So Appalled, Blame Game, Sweat on My Face. So it's just interesting to see the different tone that comes out when you rearrange the track list this way. Like, pretty fascinating. And you can see here there was a thread on Yandhi Leaks of all the changes. So different opening line and Hell of a Life. All of the Lights has only Ye and Cudi on it, which is very different. Dark Fantasy opening monologue is different. Different opening lines on The Joy, and no Charlie Wilson. Don't like that. No Jay on Monster. His verse just as Kanye's second verse on Dark Fantasy instead. Imagine that. Like, Dark Fantasy's second verse is part of Monster. That's just weird as well. Who Will Survive in America at the end of Lost in the World has very different dialogue. That's interesting. I'm trying to think what, because when we did our Who Will Survive in America episode, we looked over the entirety of the poem by Gil Scott Heron. So I'm just wondering what like very different dialogue entails. I know there were some parts like cut out from what's there, but I'm just wondering what could be there that would be so strikingly different. Dark Fantasy goes right into the beat rather than the hook then beat. Lost in the World is 8 minutes now. Whoa. That's My Bitch is on here without Jay, and Kanye still has his Watch the Throne bar. That's interesting. Runaway has extra background vocals and no Look At Ya, Ladies and Gentlemen samples. Lost in the World is missing the snare hits, and Shaker in the first half of the song is missing. And it's still 8 minutes. Blame Game replaces John Legend's slightly alternate lyrics and uses the actual Aphex Twin sample instead of re-recorded keys. That's also pretty fascinating. I've seen from just the response of people online, Blame Game seems to be the thing that's getting talked about the most, or getting at least at first the most hype from this leak. Instrumental on Gorgeous sounds slightly different. No Raekwon verse at the end. First verse on Devil in a New Dress is unfinished. Alternate lyrics on the first part of second verse. And then additional tracks on Sweat on My Face, The Joy, That's My Bitch, Holding Me Back, and Chain Heavy. And I guess I didn't do a good job of contextualizing this. It seems like this version was the original that was sent to Hype Williams before the album was finished, obviously. Because Hype was going to be doing like a movie, music videos, or like a visual component to this album, so needed this as kind of reference for that, right? So this has a lot of the versions of songs that don't have the full verses or final touches, but was kind of the initial concept before getting honed and completed to the final version that we eventually got. And then there was also a post on Discord. Is that Discord? I think that's Discord. It's just saying it's another list of like Hell of a Life, same version that leaked or very similar. Alternate intro, different verse, vocal take, rough mix probably, but nothing majorly different in power. Chain Heavy's just the instrumental. Ghetto University, just Kanye and Cudi's parts. And there's a skit at the end. That's My Bitch, different hooks, and Bon Iver part, first verse, plus Bon Iver refrain, repeat after the second verse ends. So a little bit more details on the changes and switches, right? Like Devil in a New Dress, no Rick Ross first verse. So you go back to that first post that's talking about like what could be on this, right? Is it Eminem on All of the Lights? Is it Rick Ross's original Devil in a New Dress verse? Like, are we gonna hear these things? And the answer is like, no. Gorgeous didn't even have, or Devil in a New Dress didn't even have Rick Ross, and Eminem's certainly not on All of the Lights. Which, you know, those were just theories and rumors to begin with. It's not like OP there was saying like this is certainly going to be on it. It's just that's what you hope, and then the reality not quite there. Yeah, this was funny. No Switz Beats and Sci-Hi's Little Fucking Ridiculous line is different, and Push's verse is different, and there's a Sci-Hi ad-lib before Sci-Hi's verse. And I guess that's kind of all that we got. And the leak is available. I don't know what this means at all. So that's just nonsense to me. Like I said here, I'm old enough to where I don't know how to fucking use whatever that line of text is. Is what it is. It is what it is. But that's what we got from the OG My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I mean, it seems that people aren't finding this as like, this is my ideal version of the album, but rather like, okay, we solved this mystery. That's really cool. It's cool to hear some of this stuff. And let's go back and listen to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy that we got. Which I think with leaks generally tends to be the case, right? Like there's some leaks that I hear and I'm just like, oh, that would have been awesome. Like the All Day leak was something. I think that's the most excited I've ever been about a leak. But I don't know. For the most part, tends to not be the thing that I'm most excited about. But I'm happy that the Kanye fan base continues to get these things because there really are people that love the shits, and I'm happy for you. So I hope you enjoy this. If you listen to it, let us all know what you thought. And if you're enjoying the channel, the easiest way to support is liking, comment, and subscribing, as that tells YouTube that this is a channel people enjoy, and then they show it to more people, which goes a long way. And then we also have a Patreon. With the thing that we're most known for is our line-by-line lyrical analysis of Kanye's discography. Like every song of every solo album we've done, and Jesus is King is still available for free on Apple and iTunes and all of that, but all the previous albums are on Patreon. So we're talking 100 plus episodes, 200 hours, and you're going to learn a lot about your favorite songs and favorite albums from Kanye. So that's $5 and just patreon.com/Kanye podcast. That goes a long way. And then you can follow us on Twitter at Kanye podcast. And that'll do it until we have more news and info and updates and yada, yada, yada. Until the next time, stay wavy, keep it loopy. Cheers.